It's season 2, episode 37. That's 3 a field goal, 7 a touchdown. And might as well go with that because I don't have a big famous 37 that fits with our usual theme of trying to plug our usual product, the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, www.notanhalloffame.com/USA. Myself, Kirk Buchner, co-owner, and the other co-owner, Evan Nolan. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty well. Yeah. When you think 37, regardless of our Hall of Fame, who's the first person that comes to mind? Who's number 37?
Well, selfishly, it's Dave Steeb as a Jays fan.
Fair enough. I guess selfishly for me, it's Patrice Bergeron. So the dean of Boston sports at the moment. He's been there the longest of anyone in Boston.
I guess so. Yeah. That would
he started with the team as a 17-year-old when he first got here, and he's now 36. He's been here a long time.
Great hockey player.
Yep.
Great hockey player, and hockey is back. The preseason is. I'm pretty pumped for this season. I've got to say. I don't know if we should do like a hockey preview, but I think we got enough stuff on our plate.
We got enough stuff on our plate. Hockey's going to be interesting. There are legitimately, I believe, about 20 teams that can win the cup this year. It's wide open. So it's probably going to be Tampa again. Tampa's going to beat the Islanders Eastern Conference Finals and then play whoever it is. But I legitimately think there are about 20 teams that, if they go the right way, could win. So
and kudos to all the southern United States cities. When I was a kid, there was no business, and we used to whine in Canadian Sports Talk Radio. Why do we keep going down there? It never works. Well, eventually it did.
Mm-hmm. Nashville, where I'm going to be headed tomorrow. Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I'm headed to the Spartan race. I'll be there tomorrow. Actually, my buddies are like, "Hey, we're going to go to a comedy show on Thursday night after you get in. You want to go?" I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "It's early. It's 7:00. The headliner for the comedy show, Pauly Shore.
I should have had the Price is Right losing horn ready for that.
I'm not saying that was on my bucket list. I actually asked my sister-in-law this morning when I found out. I said, "What's the opposite of a bucket list?" She goes, "I think that's a civ list." So, like, seeing Pauly Shore is probably on my civ list. But hey, it's 7:00. It'll be done by 9. We'll still have plenty of time to do other things. So,
you can review that next week.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and the Grand Ole Opry, the headliners were Sister Hazel and Sister Hazel. There are a couple of people I can't even think of.
So can we start off with a bit of blatant self-promotion?
We should every time.
Or work promotion here. Evan, you and I were part of probably the most fun podcast I've ever done, which was yesterday. So that's going to be on the Not Hall of Fame network, that I'm going to call it now, where it's the 1-year anniversary of How the Hell Did This Go #1, where you joined Andrea Tessman, my regular partner. Worlds collided. I brought my American cousin, Steve, and a real fun guy named Brad Nelson. That guy missed his calling. He should have been in comedy or something.
Yeah, sure. It was one of the most fun podcasts we ever did. Thank you, Harry Belafonte.
It'll make sense when you listen to it. And we covered world.
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff. We covered the 1939 Oscars. We covered
that's your domain.
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff in that whole thing. There are a lot of tangents that were very, very funny, and the one-liners by pretty much everyone were right on point. So it was great. And again, we all got to rip on Huey Lewis. So that also works.
Absolutely. I've sort of teased on Twitter that there's going to be a new section up. I haven't, it's actually up, but I'm an idiot and I've uploaded it, but I need Ted, my webmaster, to sort of like make that apparent. And we can talk about that next week. A gentleman by the name of Aaron Freeman, I hope I've got that right. Yeah, Aaron Freeman contacted me some time ago, and he offered to do the top 25 people who should be in the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so he's put it in 2 sections. So country music, the main section, and the country music, the veterans. So
cool. Well, I mean, I think they probably got what would have been #1 in this year, because the judge seemed like they were massively overdue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's one of those things too. I'm not a country music expert, but then as I was uploading all of his work, and again, thank you, I could not have nearly written that remotely as well as what Aaron did. It'll be amazing when we go through it. next week, just the colossal names. And even if you're not a country fan, I mean, which again, a genre I respect the hell out of, but I never.
And again, I'm going to Nashville this week. I'm sure we will stop at the Country Music Hall of Fame. It is amazingly well done. I was there 2014. I'm planning on going again as part of this weekend. It is one of the best, most entertaining halls of fame I've ever been in. And that, again, that's for someone who is not the biggest country music person either.
Right.
It was just super interesting. Had lots of interesting stuff. All the stories as to what led to what. It didn't sugarcoat stuff. If there were controversies, it like brought it up, I'd say pretty fairly on everything. Just super, super well done. So.
Yeah. So many thanks to Aaron for doing that. Thanks for offering. I mean, that's something, that's something that you and I have talked about before. And
as the guy who got roped into doing the NASCAR Hall of Fame, like
who volunteered to do it, by the way.
I did volunteer. I was bored at work. Bored at work. Yeah. I learned a lot about NASCAR doing that, but that was not my thing. And again, with the NASCAR Hall, we stopped updating it because all I did was drivers. And they got all the drivers in, and there's no way I know sponsors and crew chiefs and stuff like that.
I might look at it at some point in time. I know I updated it once, and then I haven't since. So if anyone's listening and they want to do that, hey,
100%, take it,
please. Absolutely. And sorry to disappoint you. It was not my favorite Carpenter song.
Oh man, I was hoping when you said you had a new part coming up, I was hoping it's your favorite Carpenter song.
Yes. So before we get into our main sections, because there's not that much Hall of Fame related news, but one person I want to give a massive shout out to is Henrik Lundqvist, who the Rangers have announced will be the 11th person to have his number retired. I haven't paid that much attention to the Rangers. I'm sure in your part of the world you very well might have. I realized today. I don't know if he's the only, I'm sure he's not the first person to do this, but in his first 10 seasons, he finished in the top 6 in Vezina Trophy voting.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Winning it all in 2012, pretty much taking a derelict team to the finals that had no business being there.
Agree. That Rangers team was in the finals was not that good.
Right. And so he's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The Rangers are doing their part to move that along, as they should.
Yep. I don't think anyone has any doubts that Henrik Lundqvist is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Whether first ballot or not, I with the hockey hall, I would say he'd be first ballot. If there were baseball hall, there'd be jerks and he'd make it second ballot. But a hockey hall, I'd say he's probably first.
Yeah, so. I think so. So I guess I've got a pretty big shit box if we want to start on that.
I mean, you got to get the shit box out of the way, my friend.
Yeah.
And for the listeners, I don't really know what this is about. I've already been told that he's going to go a little bit crazy and I may need to rein him in.
You will definitely need to rein me in. This is probably not going to be not very PC to begin with. So why should I start?
I am certainly the more PC of the two of us. So
that is very true. Oh God. So there's a few different ways I could have gone. And I think this one, because I as soon as I saw that this happened, I knew how this was going to play out. And I'm going to take a massive dump on the WNBA. And I know that's a real easy target. And before I go on, I just want to make this very clear. I respect the skills of these women athletes. They're great athletes.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a visceral reaction. The Phoenix Mercury, again, I'm not really not a WNBA guy, so I don't know if they're the favorites to win it all. I know we're in the semis right now.
Mm-hmm.
They got bumped twice from their home arena during the playoffs. Now, interesting thing, I checked this out. I've been doing a lot of research on this to make sure that I'm really in tune with a lot of this. They actually had the best attendance in the league this year. Now, I'm going to put an asterisk on that because I think with COVID, every state, I was going to say province, how Canadian am I, has different regulations. So, but they had the best attendance and it wasn't even close, averaging near 6,000 a game.
Okay.
It was pretty good, I think, for all things considering.
Mm-hmm.
They got bumped for one game for, I don't know who he is, but apparently he's the biggest singer from Colombia. I don't know.
The person coming to mind is probably not the biggest singer from Columbia. So,
well, maybe he's not the biggest singer, but this singer, I just assumed he was, because it just said Colombian singer so and so. Well, I guess he's the biggest. I don't know. Second, and then they just got bumped for Disney on Ice, and I hate to say it, I laughed. I thought it was funny, and I shouldn't be laughing at that, but I laughed because I knew what I was going to see. I was going to see people complain that they were dumping on them because they're women, because they're black, because they're gay. No, no, and no. They did this for the biggest reason that any company does anything: money.
Mm-hmm.
They can make more money by not bumping Disney on Ice.
I can tell you this, that if you're worried about women and gay people, getting Disney on Ice is not the way to avoid those groups.
But this was a financial decision, and when there's one blue check mark who called this a whole Bush League thing and said, well, ESPN should do something about it because they're all part of the same organization. Well, okay, whoever is sort of doing the scheduling, because they're working all this out. I mean, clearly there's some kind of snafu. We see this happen all the time, and usually it's the big sports, NBA, MLB, NHL, that don't get bumped. And they don't get bumped because they're a bigger deal. So this all went to this whole thing. Now, this is the 25th. This will conclude the 25th season of the WNBA. So let's bring up my notes. I actually prepped here.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must have been upset if you were prepping.
No, I just thought, hey, let's try this for a change.
Well, while we're waiting, here's my controversial take, by the way, and why flat earthers are completely insane. You ready for this? And it's the same reason.
Go ahead.
Because if there were a place on the earth where you could like bungee jump off the side, someone would be doing it just because of the money that would be involved.
That is the best argument against flat earth I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's all because there's Discworld, right? Have you ever seen Discworld or anything like that?
I'm told by everyone that this is right up my alley.
Yeah, Discworld's right up your alley, but it's essentially a flat earth where it's walking through and they have stuff going off the sides. Like, we live in a society where everything is for sale. And if it really existed, there would be a theme. Disney would have a theme park at the end of the world if it really existed. So anyway, continue. Yep. All right. I vamped controversially while you're getting your stuff right.
Oh, all good. As much as we're trying to stay away from politics, you and I think we're getting a lot better at that. Although I feel I'm veering into the social justice realm. I prefer to deal in what I call actual justice. I don't know quite what that means, and sometimes that'll be left, and sometimes that'll be right. I just try to use it from a form of logic.
So you aren't going to be one of the people who was outside the oh my god, I can't believe his name. Who age ain't nothing but a number. Where I can't think of his name with Aaliyah.
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly. They're all the people out there supporting R. Kelly, saying how unfair it was and everything else. Yeah, he's got 4 more sentencings, by the way. He's got 4 more trials.
Yeah, I guess that's like, yeah, because because that's in Chicago. Your neck of the woods there.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I forgot R. Kelly's name, fortunately, for a minute.
So. Oh, God. So there's always all these excuses. Well, why isn't the WNBA bigger? So let's have a conversation about this.
Fair.
About why this is the case. Now, one fact that everyone always brings up is that, and if they don't, they need to. The WNBA has never made money once in all 25 years of its existence. We'll say 24 because the books aren't settled here, but let's assume they won't, and that's not going to be their fault with COVID.
Well, yeah, you give everybody a pass in 2020, 2021.
In the year before. So let's just say 23 years.
Yeah, okay.
So for 23 years, this is a company that's been alive for 23 years and hasn't made money ever. I can't think of another organization that could still be alive. They are alive because the NBA allowed it. So let's look at what has gone right. Now, the ratings have been up and down there. So I've been trying to find a lot of articles as to whether the ratings are truly up, and they're all over the place. But near as I can tell, they're up from last year. Last year, they were up from the year before. But they've never had a game that televised went more than 1 million. That's bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
So never. It's never happened. Unless one Wikipedia thing is right, and then maybe one game did that in the early 90s, or sorry, late 90s, because that didn't exist. But they're touting that it's getting better, and it has. And you and I have talked about how last year I thought for sure the WNBA ratings were going to get destroyed because they were up against the NBA. Who's going to watch that? Well, more people than the year before that. So good on them. But here's what they don't tell you. And I looked this up, the actual attendance. So we're only going to go from the second year, the average attendance in the WNBA was actually over 10,000.
Okay.
In 2019, it was under 7. So it's been trending down, down, down since that point. So these aren't expensive tickets. People don't go. There's been very few sellouts. So then we ask, well, why? Now they always come to the same conclusion. Well, they're not being marketed. And I got a big thing on that. Fuck that. They're marketed the hell out of that on ESPN. They are. The NBA All-Star Game, always make sure that there's a representation from the WNBA. Always.
Yeah, that 3-ball thing, right? Don't they have like
always has someone in the celebrity game. They're always encouraging the NBA players to go to WNBA games. And
there's a streaming service commercial right now where there's that little old Asian lady is so addicted to WNBA she won't like participate in any of her family celebrations.
I saw that. Yeah, because I keep seeing the same damn commercials over and over and over again. Because I watch the same sports over and over and over again. So that'll happen. So when so there's articles saying, well, ESPN's not doing their job. Bullshit, they are. They're promoting the hell out of it. They put it on SportsCenter, knowing that it's not drawing eyes. We know this because of the ratings. We know this, but they keep doing it. There was an article that just came out a couple days ago on ESPN, and let's see, let me cue that one up here. It talked about Tom Brady's impending return to New England. Okay, all right, well.
As a Patriots fan, this, just a very quick aside, the media and Tom Brady's camp needs to shut up. The media needs to shut up. Everyone needs to shut up. Brady and Belichick were together for 20 years, longer than any coach-player combination in the history of sports, and decided to go their separate ways. The Patriots had to rebuild last year. They have a new quarterback this year. Brady went to a great situation, and with his moxie and a good team, brought them to the championship. He wasn't mistreated. It wasn't a mistake. Like there isn't really bad blood. Let's just stop quoting Alex Guerrero and Tom Brady's dad and move on. Sorry,
but it's must-watch television.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely must-watch television.
And I use my wife as the barometer of what really matters in sports, what's transcendent. She's going to watch that game. She's a very, very casual sports fan. When she does cheer for someone, it's all the Boston teams. Another reason that the two of you would get along. Other than also in addition to the fact that she thought you were 20 years younger.
Oh, thank you. I like that lady. By the way, the game's going to be 36-13 Tampa. So
okay. So this article, though, so it said, well, here's some other big returns. So, and I'm sure you'll agree with all these. LeBron James coming back to Cleveland.
Yeah,
that was a massive one. I remember watching that. One that I hope they would mention: Wayne Gretzky coming back to Edmonton for the first time.
Yep.
I mean, I remember watching that one too. This one maybe you watched. Cristiano Ronaldo coming back to Man U.
Yep.
Against Man U. Sorry.
Oh, against Man U. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then they put in one that didn't make a lot of sense to me. Elena Del Don coming back to play against Chicago when she was with the Mystics. I think she's still with the Mystics. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. But ESPN is doing their diligence to make you think that it did. To actually check to see what the attendance was for this. 6,771. That's not a full stadium or full arena. So they basically, ESPN is marketing them so well, they're even lying, talking about this big return that probably did spike attendance a little bit. But I can't even find evidence that
But not even the league average, as you're talking about. You said league average was 7,000. So
yeah, but it's been going down. So this was 2017. So that might have been.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that might have been around. Either way, she didn't pack him in. It's like, okay, hon, Elena's coming back. Nothing. It's sound that you hear, that's the whistling frogs, aka the crickets. That's what it was. All right, okay, I'm going a little bit hyperbolic, but that's my point. ESPN has done their job.
Hyperbole is the best thing ever, my friend. Hyperbole is the best thing ever.
I mean, you can take a corgi to the park, but you can't make it poop. I have a corgi, that's why. Yeah.
A very photogenic one.
Thank you. Yeah, you can follow him on Jasper_the friendly corgi on Instagram.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's bullshit. So no, they're marketing it. Are they putting as much as the men's? No. Should they? Hell no. But they are marketing it. ESPN has the rights. They're trying. They are trying. So that's bullshit. So let's take a look at some of these other ones here. People of color. They say, well, it's because they're black. Okay, well, it hasn't been a problem in the NBA. Hasn't really been a problem in MLB. If anything, they want more black stars.
They do.
Yeah. Isn't really a problem in the NFL. He wants to see the big stars, Tom Brady, because he's the best, because he's the GOAT. That's how it is. So let's throw that one. Let's flush that one out the toilet too. Actually, let's even go a little further. The two biggest women in American tennis are people of color. And has been for a long time. Because you could say that Venus, once she sort of stepped aside, Naomi took her spot.
The most important golfer over the last 25 years.
Yes.
In a super duper white sport.
Absolutely. There's another good one. I didn't even write that down. So perfect. The only thing waiting on is like a great black hockey player. That's going to happen. I mean, we've already had a lot of really good ones.
Yeah, I wish PK Subban were as good as I thought he was going to be.
I like PK a lot. I like him a lot.
He's a wonderful human being. He's not quite as good at hockey as I thought he was going to be.
Think about this for a second. I say this to some people. I think he gets treated better in Nashville than he did in Montreal by the fans.
100%. Oh, 100% he gets treated better in Nashville.
Which kind of shows a few other things that.
Yeah, I mean, the greatest African-American hockey player at this point is probably Grant Fuhr, right? And most people don't even think of him that way.
I didn't. I told you, I think on the show, I didn't realize he was part black until 8 years into the league. I would have been a late teen. And I only knew that because my black friend partied with him.
Yeah. So then after that, so for non-goalie, we're going what? Jerome McGinley?
Iginla. Actually, I'd say Iginla might be.
I'd say Iginla over Fuhr anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there haven't been a ton.
But we don't think about it in Canada. It's just like, you're a Canadian. Yay. It's like, that's how I think about it. I don't really think of that, but there's a lot of really good black hockey players. There hasn't been a great black American hockey player yet, I don't think.
Anson Carter is probably the closest I could come up with, but he had some good. He was good, but he wasn't.
Yeah, I think you're right, Anson Carter. But there's going to be.
There definitely will be.
There's going to be. So like that's coming, and I don't think it's going to affect their marketing. Just hockey players are pretty hard to market because I've always said they're dull as shit. They are. And when they're not, like Sean Avery, kind of don't like them.
Sean Avery is on my list of least favorite athletes of all time. So
I know. I did that on purpose.
I appreciate that, but I didn't explode this time, so I'm working on things.
No spit take on that one.
No spit take. Yeah.
All right,
I'm still sad we didn't get that one when you were wearing the Boca jersey. I was so mad. It was like I couldn't help myself. I was so mad.
Well, I have nothing else that could possibly trigger you. Nothing.
I can't imagine. Like even a Yankees jersey, a Canadian jersey, like they would upset me, but it wouldn't trigger me like a Boca jersey did. Yeah. I didn't realize the hate was that deep. So. Well,
also, I mean, it literally probably would have came out of the last place you're going to expect, a Canadian in Barbados.
Yeah, true. That also true.
Who's never been to South America.
Yeah, it's also true. Great. Continue though.
Yeah. All right. Now, the other thing that comes up, this one I think we could talk about. I don't know about most. I don't know what the average is, but I think it's safe to say that possibly a majority of the WNBA stars or players are lesbians or gay.
A large proportion of them anyway.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Don't care. But 20 years ago, a lot of the ones who were gay would stay in the closet. Now they don't. Does this turn off some people? Possibly. Still, I'm going to give some credence to that one. I think there might be some homophobic sports fans that aren't going to watch this.
Fine.
All right, so I'll give them that one to a degree, because let's also remember that the biggest name in soccer, men or women in your country, is Megan Rapinoe,
who's married to Sue Bird.
And is not just gay. She is a massive advocate of everything LGBTQ. Of everything.
She is probably the world representative for LGBTQ.
Yeah. Love her or hate her, and I kind of dislike her, but not because of her sexuality. I dislike her because I have a feeling that she's not a good person. But I don't know, and that's either way that's sort of irrelevant to my point. It's just that's changing rapidly, like right before our eyes. So I think that you can make that case, but if you have to also recognize that is crumbling, and that prejudice is eroding by leaps and bounds annually.
When Carl Nassib came out this offseason for the Raiders, I was watching that game, the first game against who are they playing? The Ravens? I can't remember who they're playing that first game.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But he made a sack in that game. And you know what they said when he made the sack?
No.
With a great play, he made the sack. It just wasn't like first openly gay player in the NFL, Carl Nassib made the sack.
And we said that. We talked about that. I mean, like how great that was. Like first openly gay football player, and it was met with meh.
Yeah, but again, 5-10 years ago, that would have been a much bigger deal. Now, like there have been so many gay players in the NFL. Tons of gay players in the NFL.
Well, in all leagues.
Well, yeah. But I mean, particularly in the NFL. I'm just bringing it up because Carl Nassib was there. And I don't think it mattered to any of the players in the field. Like the NFL more than it probably would matter more in baseball, I think, just because it's you're on a team, but you're kind of doing it individually. But in football, I don't trust somebody.
I hate to say this. Sorry, I'll let you finish there. But
I was going to say, in football, if you don't do your job, somebody's getting lit up.
Yeah.
Right.
I think also in baseball, and I hate to say this, there's a lot more homophobia in the Latin American countries.
That may also be true, but I also say that the most Republican-leaning athletes are probably baseball players as well.
But then at the same time, and I've said this before, going back to the whole women thing, you look at the most Republican crowd who cheered Trump at a UFC thing. They're also the same group of people that will go and fill an arena if it's women at the top of the card, if they respect the hell out of them.
That's also true.
I mean, like that's, and I can't, that kind of breaks a lot of stereotypes, because you would expect that these good old boys, and a lot of them are, I mean, that's a predominantly white crowd, very male crowd. And if it's two women at the top of the card, or even wherever they are, they just want to watch a good fight. They're not saying take it off or like get the mud. Not any of those people are thinking that. Well, if they are, I mean,
right.
I don't know. I've had a lot of UFC watch parties with a lot of guys with women in the card. That shit's never come up.
Fair enough.
With a lot of alpha males. So, but anyway, so the gay thing. Okay, we can maybe look at that as a turnoff for some people.
As a possible turnoff.
Well, for like in a grander scheme. So I'm going to grant that one. But here's two big things that they've got to figure out. One, they can't, but one they can. The WNBA is made up of a lot of people who just suck as people. Brittany Griner.
Most sports are.
Sure.
To be fair.
I've counted the amount of domestic violence charges that WNBA players have had.
Ooh.
I've counted up to 9. In the same time frame, I couldn't get to 9 in the NBA. and domestic charges all women on women.
Mm-hmm.
So just to bring that up. And is there such a word called reverse privilege? I don't know.
Maybe.
I never thought of that, but I am now. Every time a WNBA player gets in trouble for this shit, they never get suspended for longer than 10 games. Not that I've been able to find. You can't market some of these people for this reason. Forget that they're gay, they're beating up their wives.
Mm-hmm.
We know what we do with them with any other sport. We know exactly what we would do. And they get a pass.
There's a reason Richard Sherman doesn't have a team right now.
Yes, he does.
And he's still a free agent.
No.
Did he sign today?
Yes.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, he's an elevator up.
Oh, where did he sign with?
Tampa.
Oh.
Yeah, but he never hit her though.
True.
Yeah, so like he was just whacked. Well, let's talk about him.
Well, we'll get that to that later.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, but yeah, to that point, there's a reason that a lot like Trevor Bauer is not working right now.
Mm-hmm. There's a reason the assistant GM in for the Astros got fired.
Yeah,
for supporting.
That's true. Yeah, here there's a massive domestic violence problem for the league that is the most socially conscious. Now I don't, and this is new territory for a lot of us. You and I'm sure you were brought up the same way I was. You don't hit a woman. But what if you're a woman dating a woman? I don't know what the rule is for that. I don't. I don't say that as a joke. I honestly don't know. Like, no, I need a lifeline. Help me out here.
I just don't think you should hit people unless you're defending yourself against something. Yeah. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. So,
the biggest star, or one of the biggest stars that they have, Brittany Griner, who married a WNBA player, beat her up within 28 days of their marriage. Now, this is kind of funny, and I don't mean for it to be what it is. Her spouse, her then spouse, I forget her last name. I don't say Mercy John. Doesn't matter. I think maybe you knew things were going to go bad when you wrote your own vows, and then you said, "I'm going to be the Tina to your Ike, the Bonnie to your Clyde, and the Whitney to your Bobby." Maybe
not the Sid to your Nancy. Like, how did she leave that out?
Yeah, well, that would have been a pretty good one to add there too. But I'm assuming they don't know who the Sex Pistols are. But yeah,
it's Glory Johnson, by the way.
Glory Johnson, thank you. I was going to say Mercy Johnson, and that's one of the things I should have wrote out. Mercy Glory. I mean, either way, it's this is an issue. I can't market this. And going back to marketing, it's, hey, Diana Taurasi got into the Space Jam movie. Don't tell me they're not trying.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying. So you've got the WNBA full of players that, yeah, you're trying to market the league, but with a lot of players that you can't market them. They're hard to market. I hate to say it. And that also goes to another privilege that a lot of them don't have, which a lot of them aren't talking about. It's a pretty privilege. Not a lot of hot WNBA players. Should that matter? No. Does it? Yes. We talked about that in women's tennis. You know, a lot. It's some things just aren't fair, but that's what it is. But here's the biggest reason, and this one I really want your take on. A lot of people trash the product and how it's so much more inferior than the NBA. Well, of course it is, because, and I don't say this to be sexist, but the reality is that the best women athletes will never be as good as the top male athletes in anything. They're going to be damn good, and they're going to be entertaining to watch. But if I'm watching the 100-meter dash, you can see them do the same fundamentals as the men do. They just don't have the physical traits to do it as well. When you're watching even soccer, I mean, there's a lot of other skill plays that you're not going to see them do. But I mean, you're the soccer person, you could sort of answer that. I mean, when you're watching a lot of women's soccer, is it as a parent, just from, it's hard for you, I guess, for you to put that, because you watch so much of it. But I think as a casual fan, you're not necessarily seeing a lot of the differences.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly some differences in speed and stuff. Particularly, I mean, the U.S. played Paraguay. The women's team played Paraguay, which wasn't a game for either team, really. Like, I think it was like, I can't remember, 7, 8, 9-0 that they beat Paraguay. And it was just like, the U.S. team is the top team in the world, and Paraguay is just a developing nation. It's just there's a difference in speed and physicality and everything else.
But the fundamentals are still there. I mean, so you're
still fundamental. Yeah, that's the thing. The fundamentals of women in a lot of women's sports. I actually like women's tennis better than men's tennis because it's a little slower.
I do too.
Because there are more rallies, there are more things. The men are hitting with those rackets so hard now.
Yeah.
That there are sometimes you get, big
volleys.
But yeah, it's usually serve, returns out of bounds.
Yeah.
Or serve, return, and it's ripped down the line. Like, that's basically it for men's tennis. Women's tennis is way more entertaining to watch.
Golf, they're on different tees. It's the same thing. UFC. And you know how much I love Amanda Nunes. My favorite fighter, male or female, right now. But it's this, they're doing the same fundamental things. But when you're watching basketball, women can't dunk. They can't. I mean, they do little things close to it, but it's not a dunk. It doesn't rise you off your feet. Dunking in a 3-point deep are the two biggest electric things that a crowd will see, and they can't do one of them. They can't.
Here's a question for you, which is I don't mean to derail you.
No, go ahead.
If, other than the insult that would come from actually doing it, would the WNBA be better off lowering the basket a foot? You don't think so?
No.
Significantly more dunks and more plays around the basket.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was something, I want to say it was Breonna Stewart and might have been T-Mac. I don't know who. And she was just so pissed off at that. And her reaction to that was, I've been training all my life with this at this height. Okay. So for them to sort of change that, I mean, it would be, but then at the same time,
I mean, there's going to be an adjustment period no matter what.
Right.
I mean, there's an adjustment period in basketball when they added the 3-point shot and eventually got around to it. So
yeah,
I'm just thinking for pure economic reasons. If there were more dunks and more around the rim plays, would more people watch?
Probably, but at the same time, they're never going to go for it, so there's no point.
Oh, I know they're never going to go for it, just because it would be a complete insult to the players. I completely understand it. I'm not debating that, and I'm not saying they should do it. I'm just saying, based on what we know, it's entirely possible if there were more dunks, people wouldn't care.
Right, but the players would. But yes, I agree with you.
Do the players care as much if they have more fans and are making more money?
Well, that's the other thing, because if they want to make more money, they got to put more asses in seats. They're getting paid, actually, and I know they don't want to hear this, more than they deserve, considering they work for a product that has never generated a dime, ever. I don't say that to be an asshole. I say that because it's true. I mean, and the other thing too, I mean, when you look at the big women in the NBA or WNBA, they can't do the same physical things that a big man in the big center can. It's a totally different game. It's not as entertaining. So it's not their fault, but there's no other sport that I can think of where there's so many differences because, God, I hate to say it, their physical limitation. And yeah, for anyone saying, yeah, they kick my ass, I know they kick my ass. Here's the other thing though.
But you're not a professional basketball player.
And nor would any of you pay to watch them kick my ass. Maybe some people would, but not over $1 million.
I'd contribute to the pay-per-view just so you get some.
I know you would. You'd offer to do commentary.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty good thing. Do you have anything else? Because we're getting like 45 minutes in probably at this point.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, that's it. I mean, I just wish I would read one article that actually looked at the whole damn picture and not just blame it on SJW shit.
Fair enough.
That's really all. I mean, and I think I've successfully debunked most of that.
Fair enough.
That's it. That's all. I'm actually going to have more WNBA later, believe it or not.
All right. Well, with all that, let's get through the death march this week. We only have one person I really particularly want to talk about, but let's start with the world of soccer here. English Football Hall of Famer Roger Hunt passed away at the age of 83. He was on the 66 team that won the World Cup. Had 34 appearances and 18 goals. Spent most of his career with Liverpool, some time at Bolton and some other places. But again, one of the legends of English soccer, passing away at age 83. From the world of golf, we lost Bruce Fleischer. One of the few people who was significantly better on the Champions Tour than he ever was on the PGA Tour. Fleischer went pro in 69. He had one win, the 1991 New England Open on the PGA Tour. Then he went in 99. He transferred over to the Seniors Tour and had 18 championships and was Rookie of the Year and Player of the Year back in 99. But he passed away of cancer at the age of 72. From the world of let's go the Television Hall of Fame. We don't talk about that much.
No.
But Jay Sandrich, who was a director for Bill Cosby Show, Get Smart, The Odd Couple, Mary Tyler Moore, Bob Newhart, WKRP in Cincinnati, Benson, Golden Girls, all sorts of ones like that. 4-time Emmy winner for Best Director. Passed away at the age of 89. So I know we don't talk about the Television Hall of Fame much. I can't honestly say I know a ton about it, but it's been around since 1984.
That's one hell of a list of credits, though. Huh?
That is, yeah. So this, by the way, in 84, the first inductees to the Television Hall of Fame.
I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna Lucille Ball.
Lucille Ball, yeah.
It was gonna be my first guess, and Jackie Gleason.
He is not. There are only 2 actors here.
Oh, well, okay. I just want to see if I can get the other actor. Milton Berle?
Milton Berle. Yeah, Lucille Ball, Milton Berle.
Right.
Then Norman Lear, Edward R. Murrow, David Sarnoff, William S. Paley, and Patty Chayefsky. Right. Can't say I know who that is. But anyway, yeah. So then Carol Burnett, Sid Caesar, Walter Cronkite, Rod Serling, Ed Sullivan, like all the people you'd think. Let's see. The most recent induction? 2020 was Bob Iger, Geraldine Laybourne, Seth MacFarlane, Jay Sandrich, who just passed away, and Cicely Tyson, who also just passed away. So anyway, yep. So I never really realized that there really was a Television Hall of Fame, but just one of the big directors of all time. I just figured we'd bring it up very quickly. So everyone else who passed away was from the world of music this week, I think. There's nobody I've forgotten yet. So first, we're going to have R&B singer, songwriter, and record producer Andrea Martin passed away at the age of only 49. She was mostly an R&B writer. She wrote Before You Walk Out of My Life, which was #1 for Monica in 95. You're the One, which was #1 for SWV in 96. Don't Let Go for En Vogue, which was #1 in 97. And It Kills Me by Melanie Fiona, which was #1 in the R&B charts in 2009, plus a whole bunch of other hits. But she had 4 #1 hits.
That's my age. What'd she die of?
I don't actually see what she died of. But she was a writer. She was a backup vocalist on a bunch of albums of the songs she wrote, but never really a leading lady in terms of this stuff. But she is one of the great R&B writers of all time. Yeah, only 49 years old. I actually don't know what she passed of. So we lost Sue Thompson, who was 96. She had 2 million selling hits, which were both pop hits in the early 60s. Sad Movies Make Me Cry and Norman. And she has hit in 65 with Paper Tiger. I can't say I know a ton about them. Both those hit. And Sad Movies Make Me Cry hit #5. in 1961, and Norman hit number 3 in 61.
I'm not familiar with those.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with them either. But she passed away. 96 is a pretty good run. We lost Pee Wee Ellis, saxophonist, composer, and arranger. He was part of the backup band for James Brown. So he was 80 years old. It doesn't say what he passed of either, but one of the original members of James Brown's band. From the band's Status Quo, we lost bassist Alan Lancaster at the age of 72. He also was with the Party Boys and the Bombers, but though neither of those are as well known as Status Quo. He passed away from complications of multiple sclerosis.
Didn't they kick off Live Aid?
Ooh, they very well might have.
I think so.
Good question. Yes, they did.
Look at that.
Wow, very impressive. You know a lot about the Status Quo.
That's about it. I'm just waiting for that to be in a Trivial Pursuit question or some trivia night. But down here, it's mostly I gotta assume it's mostly British stuff at the pub. I haven't gone to it yet. Shit, I should bring you for that when you finally come down here.
Sounds good to me. So Bob Moore passed away, who is one of the greatest session musicians of all time. He has documented 17,000 recording sessions in his career, backing up everyone from Elvis Presley and Roy Orbison, Patsy Cline, Andy Williams, Julie Andrews, Sammy Davis Jr., Flatt and Scruggs, Jerry Lee Lewis, Bob Dylan, Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops Orchestra, Wayne Newton, Quincy Jones, Burl Ives, Connie Francis, Moby Grape, like Johnny Halliday, just all over the place. One of those people who we have no idea who he is, but everybody in music did. He's also the father of multi-instrumentalist R. Stevie Moore, who pioneered lo-fi music. But he passed away at the age of 88. I believe hold on, I saw that earlier. I don't actually see, but he's also a member of the Musicians Hall of Fame, where he's put it in there in 2007. And finally, the one person I do want to talk about here, one of my favorite little Americana bands, Commander Cody and the Lost Planet Airmen. Do you know much about them?
Oh, I'm not even sure I know who they are.
They're probably most famous for "Son, you got to know you're driving to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln." They are one of my absolute favorite rockabilly Americana bands of all time. And the Commander Cody himself, George Frame IV, passed away from cancer at the age of 77 this week. If you haven't discovered Commander Cody and his Lost Planet Airmen, they are just freaking fun. They are a good time to listen to all the way through. They were toured with Grateful Dead for a long time, or their opening act on several tours. But Commander Cody passed away, unfortunately. And Hot Rod Lincoln hit number 9 on the US charts back in 1972. That is probably one of my 10 favorite songs of all time.
I just typed that up in my iTunes. I'm going to listen to that when we're done.
Yeah. My daddy said, "Son, you're going to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that Hot Rod Lincoln." Anyway,
I wonder. I have a feeling once I play that, I might have heard. I'm sure
you probably have. Yeah, but George Frayne, Commander Cody himself, he was 77 and passed from cancer. He hadn't been. I've seen him I watched him on YouTube, recent stuff before he passed away over the last few years, and he's not been looking good. He's been looking like a shell of himself, kind of hunched over. Yeah. So it seemed like it was almost merciful. But that's the biggest name this week, and it's the lead singer of a band you never heard of. So,
well, and with all due respect to this group of talented people, it's a light week, which is nice.
Yeah. We've had too many heavy weeks. So
yeah. All right, so that leaves us with 2 final sections. My elevator up, elevator down. It's where I look at some people who in the past week, their elevator went up for their potential or for their respective Hall of Fame, and those who went down. I'll start off with down because you're going to actually be covering one that we talked about pre-show. So I'm removing him. So I only have one who actually, ironically enough, just got inducted to the very Hall of Fame I'm talking about. So this might sound a little confusing. It's the UFC Hall of Fame and John Jones.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Because he was just inducted this past weekend with Alexander Gustafsson for fight, because you can get inducted for a fight, which I think is stupid, personally, but whatever. John Jones is a troubled soul, but probably one of the best fighters, pound for pound, maybe ever. You can't not have that thing without him. Now, he got arrested for domestic violence, and as Dana White said, every time he comes to Vegas, basically shit happens. I'm paraphrasing. Now, if anyone Hall of Fame is going to get forgiven for this, and sadly it's the UFC. You know, because they've got Greg Hardy on their roster, they don't really have a problem with that. But I do believe in second chances, so I'm kind of conflicted on that. But either way, it's a bad look all around. John just can't help himself. When John Jones loses a major fight, it's going to be to himself. And I hate watching the great ones implode. But this has been a long time coming, and it's going to get worse. And he's still going to get a big payday out of this eventually, because there's more fights left in him. So that could be a deeper conversation for another time. So I've got 4 elevator ups. I got 4. Yeah. Justin Tucker, who this past weekend set a new record for the longest field goal, 66 yards. Now, we've talked about special teams in the Pro Football Hall of Fame over and over and over and over. When Adam Vinatieri gets in, if he gets in on the first ballot, it's going to be because of that game in the snow, the Tucker Rule game.
Yeah, and I mean, he has 3 Super Bowl winning kicks in his career.
Sure, but he has that moment.
True, and it also helps. It didn't help for a long time for Morton Anderson, but he is also the league's leading point scorer,
right,
as well, which will make a difference as well.
But again, it's still a place kicker. Again, we'll discuss all that when we have our committee.
Yeah.
You know, for all that, but this might be the best. This might be Tucker's main moment, because you don't have all these opportunities. And yes, it was against Detroit, but it was a game-winning field goal.
Of course, it was against
Detroit. Yeah, because if anyone's going to lose like that, it's Detroit.
I mean, it's Detroit, the Jets, or the Chargers. Like, those are the only 3 teams that lose like that. And the Jets, to credit the Lions this year, they are good enough to lose that way. The Jets are never going to be good enough to lose by a field goal. What's going on over there?
Yeah. Oh, no, just talking about our committee. I just got a message from Jack Silverstein.
Yeah?
Yeah. So he says, I hope I can still participate.
Jack better damn well participate.
Buddy, absolutely.
I don't know where he lives, but I'll find him. I'm not that far from him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry about that. I got distracted there.
That's fine.
Yeah, because I don't get a lot of direct messages from him. So I thought, interesting.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, Justin Tucker, I mean, like, it might be the best moment he gets, even though Baltimore is Super Bowl contenders, but you don't know what's going to happen.
But isn't he also the most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL?
I believe so. He's also an all-decade team, but this is special teamers need everything they can get. So I could be wrong on this, but I think he's now 1st and 10th all time in longest field goals.
And that field goal is 2 yards longer than the previous record. Right.
So this could stand for a while. So just elevator up for a kicker in the regular season. This might be the only time this will ever happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So we're both presuming that at some point Vinatieri gets in.
Right.
Who is the next special teamer after Vinatieri?
I hate to say it's not going to be Tasker.
Is it Leckler?
That's what I was just going to say.
I mean, but he's a punter. If it's hard for kickers to get in, it's got to be even harder for punters to get in.
It is harder for a punter, but Tasker's not going to get in. I think we know that.
So we talking, they get Billy White's shoes as a veteran committee? Or are we going to get?
Okay. Well, wait. Do we count Devin Hester?
No, Devin Hester, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So Devin Hester.
So Devin Hester. Fair enough. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So other one, and I'll keep this brief here. Alexander Usyk just won the heavyweight championship of the world in boxing. You win that, you're probably going to be an International Boxing Hall of Famer.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I mean, there's no reason to go any further than that. I'm going back to the WNBA for an elevator up.
Wow.
Yeah. Just so I don't hate this. I
know, but your argument on the WNBA isn't that you hate the league.
No, I hate it when they get sanctimonious and say, why aren't we paid the same? I hate that. I hate this. I hate that when sometimes they'll go on Twitter and say, well, it must be nice when LeBron gets a bunch of million and I'm only getting peanuts. You're getting what you deserve. Mm-hmm. And that's it. I don't know what more to say. I hate that.
Fair enough. All right, continue.
Yeah. The new WNBA MVP from the Connecticut Sun, Jonquel Jones. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I was not familiar with her, but a 3-time rebounding champion. She got all but one vote for first place. I didn't do my research on this, but I got to imagine if you're a WNBA MVP, you're probably going to go into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
It's like the NBA MVP, right? That's the whole Derrick Rose debate at this point.
Absolutely. She's 27. She's got everything going. Here's the interesting thing. Actually, I'm going to go tangent back here to the WNBA. The other problem they have. So I wanted to learn more about her. So it says Bahamian Bosnian.
That's interesting.
So she represents Bosnia internationally. So I thought, okay, well, I got to figure out how this person who grew up in Bahamas, how that happened. I can't find it. I couldn't like on her own Wikipedia page. So it goes to personal life and personal life. Personal life on this. So like, if you got to figure out, well, this has got to be where I'm going to learn how the hell this happened, right? Here's what it says on Jonquel Jones's personal life. In 2019, Jones got a golden doodle puppy. That's it. That's all it says.
Needs a better PR team, or the WNBA does.
Jesus Christ. You know what? One of our regular friends, Vinny Lospinuso, actually does some editing on Wikipedia. You know, because he adds all the Pro Football Focus stuff, and he's doing a pretty good job on that stuff. Maybe they got to get someone like him to just sort of like add stuff. If like this is what I could find out about her, that she's got a puppy, and she represents Bosnia, and I don't know why. I want to find this out. How did this happen? It's like if I said to you, girls, I know what one of the B countries would be. Pick 2 random B countries.
Bhutan and Botswana.
I thought you would go Burkina Faso.
I would, but it's too personal.
Okay, right. And for those wondering, no, he's being serious.
Yeah, very serious about Burkina Faso. I never joke about Burkina Faso or its capital of Ouagadougou.
Yeah, it landed you a wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who's not from Burkina Faso.
No, he's not from Burkina Faso. So if you're thinking maybe Evan sort of like landed his wife on Afro Romance, well, maybe, but I'm guessing not.
Now let's continue off my personal life. Continue.
That's it. That's all I got. So no, she's an elevator up. Also, especially considering that if you're representing Bosnia, I guess you're not winning a gold medal. She didn't win that much in college. She played for George. She won the Atlantic 10 MVP
at GW.
So, yeah. So I want to say George Washington. I forgot, but I'm not going to bring it back up. So she needs that because she won't have the international stuff going unless Bosnia goes all the way, and that's not happening.
I mean, you never know in women's basketball, somebody could pop up. I mean, the U.S. is going to win everything, but that doesn't mean that Bosnia can't be a semifinalist at some point.
Yes, but Nike already told me that it's the greatest dynasty of all time. Mm. And my final elevator up, Richard Sherman, who after having, I don't really know what to say.
A meltdown. He had a meltdown.
A drunken meltdown where he wasn't himself, I'm going to assume. Obviously, we don't know the man, but I think if you and I were to sort of describe that situation, and come up with the least likely person for that to be. Richard Sherman might have been that guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's getting another chance now with Tampa Bay. I'm cheering for him partially because I'm a Saints fan.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets to sort of maybe perhaps rewrite a wrong. Thankfully the police got there when they did, because his induced state, I wonder if he even knew what the hell he was doing.
It doesn't sound like he did.
No, I don't know if you watched it.
And it does sound like he went and got help.
It did. And I'm cheering for him huge. And again, more for his personal life than anything he does against the Saints. But I'm happy that he's back in the NFL. And if that doesn't say like who's really possibly the greatest recruiter next to Nick Saban, maybe it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, yeah, Tom Brady's a ridiculous good recruiter.
Yeah, because that's who brought him there, from what I read today.
Yeah,
it was Brady who reached out. So yeah, that's my elevator. I know you sometimes I stick it with one, but there's a lot.
And I know we have another elevator we're going to talk about. Just by the way, I do want to point out my favorite statistic right now that I saw this week very quickly. So it's a Patriots statistic. But the best receiver on the Patriots right now is Jacoby Myers, who is our slot receiver.
Mm-hmm.
In the history of the NFL, there is one player who has at least 52 career receptions and no touchdowns. It is Jacoby Myers. He has 104 receptions.
And no touchdowns.
He's 104 career receptions and no touchdowns. Nobody else has anyone who has 51 or more in the history of the league other than him has at least one touchdown. He's double the number. It was just a really weird stat that I saw this week.
I like weird stats.
I like that one too. All right. Anyway, so we get to my good, bad, and ugly at this point. Yes. So the orange representation should probably tell you the good for the week here. I am wearing, by the way, a giraffe kissed me shirt from the Wildwood Animal Park in Minocqua, Wisconsin.
You might as well just say I'm a dad.
Oh yeah, it's like it was my kids. My kids had like a family fun night at school today, so of course I wore my giraffe kiss me shirt. So, but the team on my hat here, the local A-ball franchise, the Schaumburg Boomers, they have only really been in existence through 2011. Now, our previous team in town before I got here, it's a team called the Schaumburg Flyers. They went out of existence because the previous owner was somehow involved in an insider trading scandal. And as part of that, the whole team got locked up and everything else. So they had to redo our franchise. It's only been around since 2011. They're in the Frontier League, and they won their 4th championship since 2011 in the Frontier League. Now, I know A-ball doesn't necessarily matter, but
sure it does.
Hey, if you're in a league, there's what, 28 teams in the league, and you've won 4 championships in your first decade. That's pretty good.
Are they which tree are they under?
They are not.
Well, they're not.
They are independent altogether.
Oh.
So actually with COVID in the preseason, the White Sox were actually practicing out at Schaumburg, and 2 of their guys got picked up by the White Sox after like practicing with them. So White Sox grabbed him. One guy got, I think a couple guys got picked up by the Twins too. But the manager or the GM of the year, I will say someone who I'm friendly with, Mike Larson, was the executive of the year. Their best player was Quincy Niporti, who my daughter got a signed baseball for just because she liked him. She thought he was handsome. So she wanted to get the baseball signed by him. He won the MVP. Just all around good. By the way, they won the championship series 3-2 against the Washington Wild Things. Okay. I will give you 5 guesses.
Oh, right.
And I'll give you a hint. It's not DC or the state of Washington. Okay?
You already gave me this. And I forgot.
What state are the Washington Wild Things in?
No, okay. Pennsylvania, you told me.
Oh, I told you? Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Washington, Pennsylvania, population 13,000, has a minor league A-ball team.
I've never even heard of that town.
It's kind of west of Pittsburgh towards Ohio.
What's the capacity? Stadium.
Of the Boomer Stadium or
Yeah,
the Wild things? The Boomer Stadium. That's a good question. I'll find that out. It's a Schaumburg Boomers Stadium capacity. I know they broke all their attendance records, 73,65. So essentially a WNBA game.
Oh yeah, all the WNBA fans, both of them are going to be loving this show.
Yeah. So, no, but they have like bouncy castle out in their left field stands, and nice. The kids, there's jungle gym, and the kids can do a speed toss thing, and then they're on the right field side, there's just a grassy area. The kids all run around and get foul balls and everything. It's a good time going to the A-ball game. If you have the opportunity, the major leagues, as I said, under Manafort's trying to kill the minor league system for reasons unknown to anybody.
Well, you know why.
Yeah, because I don't make money.
No, because he hates baseball.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have a local minor league team, just go check out a game or two during summer. You'll have a great time. So anyway, that's I got one local sports franchise in my town, and they won. So
why not? The good's always something fun.
Yeah, exactly right. So the bad, I'm going to go with, and this ties into one of your elevator downs we decided to move with. You had it until I told you I was going to do here.
Yeah.
I'm only saying bad now. It has a potential to be ugly coming up. But right now, it's only bad. So I'm going to start with the good in the bad. Okay. The good is that in a country where the population is about 65% fully vaccinated, 90% of the NBA has been vaccinated.
That was 90.
What?
That was 90.
That's what I said.
Oh, I heard 95. Sorry.
No, 90.
Okay.
So 90% of the NBA has been fully vaccinated, right? So the vast majority of the league, including 5 teams definitely, and 6 other teams, which will be by opening night, guys are in process, have to wait for the second shot. Mm-hmm. So there's 11 teams will be fully done. And then there's your elevator down, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Didn't meet a conspiracy theory that he couldn't overanalyze.
You know, and he brought up flat Earth before, right?
Yeah.
But I think too, not because, and I don't want to get into this pro-vax. Like I'm done having conversations, sort of about it. I refuse to. I have a lot of friends who refuse to take it, and they're still going to be my friends forever, and that's that. So I'm not going to try to shame them or anything like that, or any of these NBA players for that matter. But there's a reality right now into how the world is thinking. Mm-hmm. And
how the league is thinking. And Kyrie, who is probably a Hall of Famer right now, close to it anyway, or if not already. You know, this is not one of those social stands that's going to endear him the way history looks like it's going to play out. Well, here's his Kyrie's biggest problem is the NBA came out today and said, if you don't play a game because you violated the COVID protocols, you ain't getting paid.
Right.
And this is where the potential for the ugly comes in. Because Kyrie, there are 2 arenas or 2 places where if you go and you're not fully vaccinated, they're not going to allow you to play. It's New York City, right? New York City and Golden State.
Is it just so it's that city mandate then? Because that's not going to be the case for LA? No. Okay. So it's going to be in Golden State, and it's going to be for the Knicks and Nets games. Problem is he plays for the Nets. Yeah. Okay. So that's 41 games. The Nets play at the Knicks twice. That is a 43, and in Golden State once. That's 44 games out of an 82-game season that he ain't getting paid for. And the thing too with Kyrie, he is the type of guy that, I mean, you've probably read about him far more than I have. Kyrie strikes me as the type of guy who's going to say, you know what, fuck it, this is what I believe. Oh, I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that. And there was a whole thing when Kyrie came back that Boston, who has a history of not treating African-American athletes the greatest, I'd say most of that is older history, but we're not perfect still. That the reason that people were booing Kyrie when he came back was because he was African-American, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. They were booing Kyrie Irving because he quit on the team in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. He absolutely quit on the team.
And that's why they're booing him. They're up 1-0 on Milwaukee, and Kyrie just sandbagged the last 4 games of the 4-1 loss, right? And then after saying he was going to re-sign with the team at the beginning of the year, just left for whatever. And what the Boston fans do not like being burned, right? But this is gonna be a problem because there are other big stars, and like I don't know, Andrew Wiggins is not necessarily a big star, but he got rejected for his religious exemption.
Bullshit.
So
I'm calling, and I'm not saying that doesn't exist because it does. But I think Andrew Wiggins was pulling that one out of his ass.
Anyone who is worried about the stem cell usage that is being used for vaccines, who has ever taken a Tylenol, guess what they use in Tylenol?
I don't know. Okay.
There are stem cells in the research into Tylenol as well. Like that's how we got the exercise formula. Like there's just nobody knows what's literally in anything, right? I could give you a random list of things that all sound terrible. And whether it's a vaccine, an apple, or dog crap, you would have no idea what it is.
Or in my case, the amount of Diet Coke I drank.
Yeah, well, like I said, dog crap. Like I said, dog crap.
Yeah, dog crap. Yeah.
So like you won't have nobody has any idea what's in anything, right? We are trusting the government, which again is a problem that we've been having, that they're going to make it so that things aren't problematic. Now, I understand reluctance within the African American community because of the Tuskegee incident, not just incident, the complete abuse of trust and that what went on with Tuskegee. I get it. That was the big point of reluctance within the African American community, right? But at this point, how many billion people have gotten the vaccine?
No, I hear you. I'm just, I think I consider myself blessed in a way, because I'm so tired of this shit, but I've been very fortunate to have been in Barbados this whole time.
Yeah.
Where it's been, we've had our share of lockdowns, but I still have the good weather. Like we had our area or 3-hour windows. Okay, well, you're allowed to go to the beach right now, and still shit like that. We're having more trouble now, mainly because our vaccination rate's at 38%, which I don't see how this country is going to get past 55, because based on surveys that I've seen online here, it's pretty much 50-50 as to whether people trust it or not. And going back to religious exemptions, I just learned this. I didn't even know that was true. My wife told me this, so I assume it's true. Rastafarians, it's in their religion, they can't. So we have a bit of a Rasta population, not a huge one.
Yeah, but I mean, that's Rastafarianism is a combination of Afro-Caribbean religious practices. So
so I mean that is a demographic. I don't know what Andrew Wiggins was trying to, and he very well might be, but
I could just imagine Karl Anthony Towns, who lost his mom to COVID in the very first go through of this thing, is going to have some issues with his former teammate.
Or maybe he doesn't. I mean,
maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
But
anyway, regardless, right now it's bad. It has the possibility of going full ugly, depending on what happens as the season approaches. On one hand, everyone's allowed to if corporations are people too, they're allowed to mandate the rules by which their employees do things to a certain level when it comes to health and safety, right? Or at least what they believe health and safety to be. If players or employees decide they don't want to participate, we'll see what happens.
You could almost throw Bradley Beal in this one too, because he didn't disclose his, but I think we kind of know.
If you don't disclose, we know.
More or less. It's like, we talked about gay issues before. Don't ask, don't tell. Yeah, well, I guess we knew what that meant, but never.
Anyway. Yeah, that's just has the opportunity to get real ugly. We'll see what happens, because I will tell you the one thing that Kyrie Irving will not do. Be quiet about it when he doesn't get paid.
No, that's very true. It's really interesting too, because now we've got more than a few larger celebrities. We want to throw Nicki Minaj into this.
Mm-hmm.
And
Russell
again,
Brand. Russell Brand came out this week.
Yeah. Well, did he's? I know he's sort of went an anti-big pharma thing, but I mean, like, I'm not a big pharma guy either. I'm just putting more trust. Maybe I should. I'm blindly putting trust, and maybe I shouldn't. But no, it's fine.
If the vaccine were dangerous, the rich people wouldn't have gotten it first.
That's a very good point.
It all comes down to money. It always does.
You know what? You're right, because that's actually the damn good point, because that's kind of how I started the Shitbox.
Yeah.
It's all
so anyway,
but
so let's get to the ugly. Let's get off of what's a political issue. Get to the ugly here.
Okay.
I just want to talk about. I want to bring up an old friend of ours, the Super League. Remember that?
Super League, RAP 2021-2021.
I believe it was April 15th, 2021 to April 17th, 2021.
I'm still waiting for my Fanatics gear on that whole Super League t-shirt to come in. Hasn't come in yet.
Although Florentino Perez, who is the president of Real Madrid, still insists that it's not going anywhere, right? But I just want to talk about the Super League, the ultimate hubris of it, given what's going on in Spanish soccer right now.
Right, okay? I know where you're going here with this.
So Spanish soccer for, say, 2008 to 2012 was a dominant force in the world. They won two European championships. They won a World Cup. And then there were more winners from Spain of the Champions League between 2000 and 14 and 19 than there were participants in the finals from other countries. Right? Like, Spanish soccer was the thing for a very long time. But here's the problem with Spanish soccer. It's super top heavy, right? And the two teams who are at the top, Barcelona and Real Madrid, and there are a couple other teams, Sevilla and a few others that pop up from time to time. But those are the two heavyweights. They don't act, they're not owned like Liverpool or Manchester United. They have a whole different marketing scheme, right? And they were spending way more than they were taking in.
Mm-mm.
Barcelona was $1 billion in debt.
Holy shit.
Just based on player salaries.
Wow.
Coming into the season. And because of that, even though Lionel Messi offered to play for the team basically for free, they couldn't afford him, and he went to PSG. They didn't want him to leave. He didn't want to leave, but they had to sell off a couple of players who they couldn't get off the books. And because of the fair play rules that they have in Spain, he couldn't afford him at basically minimum wage in order to stay.
They weren't allowed to sign him back. Were they sort of like robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then COVID was sort of like their
COVID was definitely a tipping point.
Okay.
100% a tipping point, no question. And to be fair to Barcelona, Messi was brought up through the youth system in Barcelona. Barcelona has very much been a team which, at least historically, has developed their own players and then paid them over time. Madrid's always gone out and found other people. Mm-hmm. Like, they just always go out and buy the biggest names they can over and over again, right? Mm-hmm. But we get to remember our good friend, Perez.
Yeah.
So he said that the reason they needed a breakaway league was the Champions League was too boring, it was too predictable, and they weren't making enough money. So today was the second they're in the round robin stage of the Champions League, and Barcelona got their asses handed to them today by Benfica. Now, Benfica is a team that's won the Champions League before. It's not that embarrassing, except you're not supposed to lose 3-0 to Benfica if you're Barcelona at that point, right? And they're probably not getting through
the group stage.
They're 0-2 and -6 in their group at the moment. So Benfica and Bayern Munich are ahead of them, and they're even behind Dynamo Kiev, who's at -5, at least tied Benfica in their first game, right? They're in some serious trouble. Not as much, well, actually probably Real Madrid's in less trouble because they actually won their first game. But their second game in the round robin They lost to, and let me make sure for the viewers at home that I am saying this correctly. Sheriff Tiraspol. Tell me your favorite player on Sheriff Tiraspol, my friend, in their history.
Sheriff Lobo.
Good choice. No, he wasn't there though.
Oh.
So Sheriff Tiraspol is the first team ever from Moldova to make it actually ever to get to this stage, and they first team ever to win at this stage, clearly, because the first ones to get here. They've actually won their first 2 games in the group.
Aren't they at top of the group? I was looking at that.
They are at top of the group. They beat Shakhtar Donetsk in the first game, and they beat Real Madrid.
Who's the other one in that
second
group?
game?
Because that's a power in the other group, in the 4th team, no?
Internazionale.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Italian team. Who tied Shakhtar in their other game and lost to Real Madrid. So Real dominated this game. I think they completed like 800 something passes, like 120 for Sheriff Tiraspol. But do you know how much Sheriff Tiraspol's entire team is worth if you would try to buy it?
I don't know. 20 million? I got no clue.
$13.7 million.
Okay.
That's like middle infielder in a decent market money in Major League Baseball.
So then how are they pulling this off?
It's a very good question. Yeah. The people in charge of the team, I'm separating the players from the people in charge. Mm-hmm. Okay. The people in charge of the team are probably, how do I say this without getting a hit put out on me? Are probably not the most scrupulous characters from Russia. Mm-hmm. Put it that way. And you can fill it in with acronyms and underwear, your favorite underground organizations, right?
I feel one of us needs to do a Yakov Smirnoff bit, but maybe.
I love America. You come to this country. I say, I want to buy car. They say, cost a mint. I say, what the country? You get car for candy. There's Yakov Smirnoff right there. Actual Yakov Smirnoff joke. The only one I remember. But
what did I read? They said when the communism fell, nobody really felt it harder than Yakov Smirnoff. Mm-hmm. He lost his whole shtick.
Yeah, probably true. Yeah. So they have the largest stadium. They're the only team that matters. They're actually in Transnistria, which is a breakaway part of Moldova. Doesn't believe that Moldova actually has any say over it, but it participates in the Moldovan League because that's where they are. So how they're pulling off, I'm not sure. They just have a whole bunch of guys who are from 2nd and 3rd tier African countries. They have a lot of African guys. The guy who actually scored the game-winning goal again, which was one of the 10 greatest goals you're ever going to see. If you haven't seen that goal, go watch it. It was a half volley rocket shot off the inside of the far post, just from 25 yards out. Just an absolutely beautiful shot. Goalie had absolutely no chance at it. Actually, the first player ever to score in the Champions League group stage from the country of Luxembourg, to give you an idea. So they got beaten by someone from Luxembourg. That's how bad things have fallen for Real Madrid. But the Spanish soccer is in some serious trouble. And I think that part of the reason that Real is still holding on hope for the Super League,
the money they need, is
the money they are hemorrhaging. Mm-hmm. That they need to get back because they both have run things very badly. And now Real has allowed a venture capital team, a group in for the first time to take 10% or take over 10% of the team. And it's the beginning of change in Spanish soccer right now. So we will see where it goes, but it is not looking good for Spanish soccer. They are, granted, they were coming from one of the highest highs any soccer league, any soccer national team anyone can have, and eventually going to come down. But we're at the beginning of this crash, and this crash over the next 2 or 3 years is going to be super, super bad. And we'll see exactly what happens. But I think particularly until they get themselves straight, Barcelona, Real Madrid's could feel a little less, I think, but Barcelona in particular, one of the 2 most recognizable soccer teams in the world, the other one being the one you're wearing right now.
Yep, Man U.
Yeah, Man U.
Yeah, compliments of my wife at the Tokyo airport, because that's where you get all your Man U gear.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I told you I was in Southeast Asia. There's Man U stuff everywhere throughout Southeast Asia. Singapore is like, there can be no place that loves Man U more than Singapore.
Actually, that's where I got my Everton jersey.
Oh, really?
In Singapore, yeah.
Wow. So anyway, it's the beginning of ugly, where NBA is in bad and can move to ugly. This is the beginning of ugly into really, really ugly in international soccer. The idea that the Sheriff Tiraspol can even, and the fact they're on the same field at any point with Real Madrid and then winning at Real Madrid, because that was in Madrid, that game, is absolutely insane. And by the way, Manchester United also beat Villarreal today, who is another Spanish team. But
I did check that before I decided what I was going to wear. So
yeah, there's no real shame in losing to Manchester United if you're Villarreal. But so we'll see what happens, but it's not looking good.
So I guess that closes off another week. As always, we ask everyone to stay safe. Check out all the other stuff that we do. It's not just nothallofame.com. It's the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. Pretty soon, Evan, do you know that we're working on the Playoff Hall of Fame?
Yes,
we're going to go ahead with that.
Talked about that.
Yeah, I think we got to come up with a preliminary plan for that. The Postseason Hall of Fame, Claude Lemieux, his ears are perking up right now.
Gibson is limping into position to speak at the podium as we speak.
Absolutely. Of course, first class will probably be Michael Jordan.
And if any of you guys happen to be in Nashville and are at the Spartan race, come find me. I'm the dude with the beard. Probably the only one.
Oh yeah, that'll help. And if you want to be part of our pro football committee, which we're going to be looking at all the preliminary candidates, paring them down to semifinalists. I think we're going to be doing that the third Tuesday of October. So yeah, be a part of that. And hey, buy my book.
Yeah, absolutely. Buy his book.
Yes. If you're interested in Chavo Guerrero Sr., a great wrestler, a great guy, you can get that on Amazon. Chavo Guerrero Instant Classic. Actually, I've just been asked to promote that on ESPN El Paso.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bring up our other Hall of Fames while you're there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. Stay safe, everybody.
Take care.